This module is on philosophy of language Indian. And now we shall discuss the Nyaya theory of linguistic performance on the basis of two Nyaya texts. These two texts are Bhasha Paricheda and Siddhanta Muktavali by Vishwanatha Nyaya Panchanana. As you all know, Bhasha Paricheda is written in verse, and Siddhanta Muktavali is an auto commentary on Bhasha Paricheda written by Vishwanatha himself. We shall read these two texts with the help of a commentary. The name of the commentary is Muktavali Sangraha, written by Acharya Panchanana Shastri. The Shabdakhanda of Bhasha Paricheda starts with Karika or verse 81, where Vishwanatha writes Padajyanam tu karanam darang tatra padarthadhi shabdabodha phalang tatra shaktidhi sahakarini. Here Vishwanatha says that he is discussing the causal conditions of a verbal cognition. The Siddhanta Muktavali starts with the sentence Shabda bodha prakarang darshayati padajyanam tu iti. That is, in the verse padajyanam tu karanam dwarang tatra padarthadhi, Vishwanatha is demonstrating the Shabdabodha Prakara. And what does this term Shabdabodha Prakaram means? It means Shabdabodha Karana Kalapam, that is, the causal conditions which lead to a verbal cognition. So, Vishwanatha here is laying down the causal conditions which lead to a verbal cognition. We are just inquiring about the causes that lead to a verbal cognition. In the verse itself, Vishwanatha says that the karana of a verbal cognition is the knowledge of a word. Padajyanam. Padajyanam means the knowledge of a word. The vyaparo which leads to a Shabdabodha is Padarthadhi. What does this term Padarthadhi mean? We shall see presently. And the effect, of course, is the verbal cognition itself. Now, in his Nyaya Sutra, Maharshi Gautama said, Aptopadesha Shabda. That is, Shabda is the fourth pramana admitted by the Nyaya philosophers. And Maharshi Gautama defined Shabda as Aptopadesha, or as the prescription given by an Apta Vyakti. We shall later learn who is an Apta Vyakti. But the point which is to be noted here is that Vishwanatha is not saying that Shabda is the pramana which leads to a verbal cognition. He never says that. Vishwanatha is not saying that a verbal cognition is produced by a word itself. There can be plenty of words in the universe. I may not know any of them, and if I do not know those words, then those words will not be able to give rise to any verbal cognition in myself. So, in order to have any verbal cognition from any word, we need to know the word. We need to have knowledge of the word. That is why Vishwanatha said that Padadhyana is the karana of the verbal cognition. Here, the term karana means asadharanam vyaparavan karanam. That is, the term korono is taken in the sense in which the Nobbonayo philosophers use it, to mean a Vyaparovan karanam. A karana which leads to an effect through a Vyaparo or an intermediary effect. That is the meaning of the term korono in which the term is used here. It does not mean phalayoga bhavachinno karanam, which is the ancient Naya definition of the term korono. That is, the term korono here does not stand for the immediately preceding antecedent of the verbal cognition. It is used in the Nobbonayo sense. The intermediary effect is padarthodhi. What exactly is meant by padarthodhi will be explained by Vishwanatha himself in his Siddhanta Muktabuli. For the present, we can take it as some kind of presentation of the object. So, what is happening here? A person comes to know a word. The word presents its own denotation, its own meaning, or its own referent. This presentation of the denotation or the referent of the word is called padarthodhi. We shall see later what kind of knowledge it is, whether it is an apprehension or anubhava, or whether it's a recollection or smriti. These issues will be discussed by Vishwanatha presently in his Siddhanta Muktabuli. So, for the time being, Vishwanatha is saying that the knowledge of the word leads to the presentation of its own denotation or to the presentation of its own referent. Some extra linguistic item, which is the meaning, the denotation of the word, is presented by the knowledge of the word. This presentation of the object in turn leads to the verbal cognition. So, this presentation of the object is a condition, is a causal condition which is produced by the korono, and in its own turn it gives rise to a result which is an effect of that korono. So, it is an intermediate effect which is produced by the korono and which in turn gives rise to an effect that is also an effect of the korono. So, the definition of a vyaparo tajjanyatve sati tajjanya janakatvam vyaparatvam, that is, a vyaparo is something which is produced by a korono, tajjanno, and which gives rise to something which is also koronojanyo, applies to this padarthodhi or to this presentation of the object. That is why this presentation of the object is called an intermediate effect or vyaparo. The effect here is, of course, a verbal cognition. Now, what does Vishwanatha mean by a verbal cognition or a shabdabodho? A shabdabodho or a verbal cognition is defined by Vishwanatha as eko padarthe aparo padartha sangsarga vishayakam jnanam. That is, it is the knowledge of the relation of one object with another. That is, whenever we know that one particular object is related to another on hearing a sentence, only then we can be said to have a verbal cognition. That is, if someone has knowledge of some discrete, isolated items of the world, he doesn't have any Shabdabodho or verbal cognition. A verbal cognition is a relational knowledge. It is a determinate knowledge where a substance is known as qualified by some property. For instance, when a person encounters a sentence of the form Ghato Asti, the pot exists, then one understands the pot by the term Ghato, and one understands the property being the locus of existence or being the locus of satta by the term asti, by the verb asti. But if a person has the knowledge of the object pot, and he also has knowledge of this property, but if he doesn't know the connection between this object and the property, then we cannot say that the person has a verbal cognition. He needs to know that the property inheres in the pot. That is, the pot is qualified by the property being the locus or being the ashraya of ostitva, being the ashraya of satta. So, whenever one knows two items, be it a substance or a property, or be it two substances as related to one another, only then it can be said that the person has a verbal cognition. So, a verbal cognition is a relational knowledge. It's not a knowledge where we know some discrete, unrelated items of the world. Almost all Indian philosophers agree with the Nayayikas on this point, that in order to have a Shabdabodho, in order to have a verbal cognition, we need to understand the relation among the constituent among the meanings of the constituent words of a sentence. A hearer encounters a sentence. On hearing a sentence, the hearer, if he is a competent user of any language, understands the reference or the denotations of the words. But if he merely understands the denotations of the words, then she will not succeed in having any verbal cognition whatsoever. She needs to understand the combination or the concatenation, the relation which obtains among the meanings of the constituent expressions of the sentence. Siddhanta Muktabali that is Vishwanatha, in his Siddhanta Muktabali says that by saying that Padadhyano, knowledge of the word, is the corona of a verbal cognition, he is refuting the view of the ancient Nayayikas. The ancient Nayayikas did not say that the knowledge of a word is the corona of a verbal cognition. The ancient Nayayikas said that Jnanamanam Padam is the coronum of Shabdabodho. Now, what did the ancient Nayayikas mean by Adhyayamanam Padam? They meant by this expression an uttered sound. That is, on the ancient Nyaya view, an uttered sound is the corona of a verbal cognition. But Vishwanatha says that there are plenty of occasions where a competent user of a natural language has a verbal cognition, but no utterance of the word, no utterance of any word can be seen on, can be encountered on such occasions. For instance, a person may read a book, and on reading a book, one can have a verbal cognition. We are always having verbal cognitions on reading books or other printed material. There are plenty of other cases too where one has verbal cognitions even though one does not encounter any uttered sound. For instance, suppose a person who has taken the vow of silence, who is a Mauni Vyakti, communicates his thoughts by writing something. Here, a person who reads the writing also understands what the silent person wants to convey. So, written symbols also are capable of giving rise to verbal cognitions. But whenever we have verbal cognitions on reading something, there we do not hear any uttered sound. So, even though uttered sounds are absent in such cases, verbal cognitions are produced. So, uttered sounds cannot be regarded as the causal condition or as the corona of a verbal cognition. A verbal cognition can even be produced by certain physical gestures. For example, we may ask someone, how many fruits or how many apples do you want? And she may show by raising her fingers that she wants 2 apples. In this case, the person who observes the physical gesture, the hand gesture, has a verbal cognition of the form, this person wants 2 apples. So, a verbal cognition can be produced even by physical gestures or hand gestures such as hasta chesta, etc. On these occasions also no uttered sound is present, but a verbal cognition is produced. So, presence of uttered sounds is not a necessary condition of a verbal cognition. A verbal cognition is produced by a padajnana or the knowledge of a word. This knowledge of a word leads to a padarthodhi, as it has been remarked earlier by Vishwanatha in his Karika. Now, what sort of knowledge is this padarthodhi? Is this knowledge produced? Can this knowledge be produced by any other pramanu such as perception, inference, etc.? No. This padarthodhi should be padajnyo, padajnanojonyo. That is, this presentation of the meaning of a word should be produced by the knowledge of the word. Why? What will be the harm if the presentation of the object is produced by any other pramanu? Vishwanatha answers this question by pointing out that suppose someone hears the word pot. On hearing the word pot, he has knowledge of the pot. Then suppose by some other means, suppose by perception, a piece of cloth is presented to the hearer. On seeing or one watching a piece of cloth by means of our visual sense organ, this person can come to know of a piece of cloth, and then she may have a knowledge of the form ghata potosho, that is, a pot and a piece of cloth. But no one would say that this knowledge of the form, a pot and a piece of cloth, is produced by the knowledge of the word pot. The knowledge of the word pot doesn't have the ability to produce the knowledge of the form, a pot and a piece of cloth. So, the object which leads the presentation of the object which leads to a verbal cognition cannot be produced by any other pramana. It must be produced by the knowledge of the word. The knowledge of the word itself must produce the presentation of the object. That is, the presentation of the object itself must be an effect brought about by the knowledge of the word. Otherwise, this presentation cannot also be a vyaparo, because a vyaparo is an intermediate condition which is produced by the karana and which in turn gives rise to an effect that is also an effect of the karana. Now, if something is produced by some other means, say perception, suppose the piece of cloth is produced by perception, but that perception will not be generated by the knowledge of the pot. So that presentation of the piece of cloth will not be an effect brought about by the karana. If something is not an effect brought about by the karana, then that something cannot be an intermediate effect. It cannot be a vyaparo. So the intermediate effect too must be brought about by the knowledge of the word. But the knowledge of the word should produce this padarthodhi, or this presentation of the object, through the knowledge of the vritti relation. But why do the Naiyayikos think that the knowledge of the word should lead to the presentation of the object by means of a vritti relation, which is a specific kind of relation? Atra vrittiya padojanyatvam bodhyam. That is, padojanyatva is to be understood as being caused by the knowledge of a word through the vritti relation. But what will be the harm if the presentation of the object is not produced via the vritti relation? It may be produced by the knowledge of the word, but it may not be produced via this vritti relation. What will be the harm? Vishwanatha says that any word is a sound, and on the narrow view, sound is a quality of akasha. Every quality inheres in its own substratum, in its own locus, by the relation of inherence. So, any word, suppose the word pot or ghato also resides in akasha, and there exists a relation between this word and akasha. What is that relation? That relation is the relation of inherence or the samabaya sambandha. Now, if we know one relatum and if we also have knowledge of the relation itself, then that knowledge of the relatum may lead or often leads to the knowledge of the other relatum. Suppose one knows the relation between an elephant and the elephant driver, the Mahut, the Hostipaku, and one sees the elephant. One is instantly reminded of the elephant driver, of the elephant keeper. Why? Because the person here also knows the relation between the elephant and that person. So, if we know a particular relation between two entities, and if we encounter one of those entities, we are reminded of the other entity. This principle is stated by the Naiyaikos in the form of the following dictum: Eko sambandhi jnanam aparo sambandhi smarakam. That is, knowledge of one relatum needs to the knowledge of the other relatum. Of course, in order to have knowledge of the other relatum, one needs to have knowledge of the relation. If one doesn't know the relation, one cannot be reminded of the other relatum, even though one encounters the first relatum. So, one is reminded of the second relatum only if one knows that this particular relation obtains between these two entities. There is a relation between these two entities. Now, any word is related to Akasha by Samabhaya Sambandha, by the relation of inherence, because Akasha is the Samabhaya Karana of any word. So, one can be reminded of Akasha as soon as one encounters a word by the relation of inherence. Suppose I encounter the word Khato, and I know that there is a relation between every sound and its Samabhaya Karana Akasha, and by this relation of Samabhaya, or by my knowledge of this relation, I am reminded of Akasha. But no one would say that the knowledge of Akasha is produced by the knowledge of the word Khato. For in that case, the knowledge of any word would lead to the knowledge of Akasha. But we never say that we have the verbal cognition of Akasha whenever we encounter any word. That is never said. That is not the established meaning of a verbal cognition of a Shabdabodha. So, the object presented, the presentation of the object must be caused by a specific kind of relation, not any and every relation. And this relation is called the vritti relation. Vishwanatha himself does not give any definition of the vritti relation, either in his Bhasha Paricheda or in his Siddhanta Muktavali. But Panchanana Shastri, Acharya Panchanana Shastri, defines this vritti relation as a relation which resides in the word and which has an object as its counter correlative, and which is conducive to the genesis of a verbal cognition. Vrittitvam tu padanu padartha pratiyogiko shabdo bodhanukula sambandhatvam. That is, a vritti relation is a padanu yogiko and a padartha pratiyogiko relation. The locus of the relation is the word or the pada. The counter correlative of the relation is the object with which the word is related, and this relation is conducive to the genesis of a verbal cognition. it produces a verbal cognition. Shabdo bodhanukulo sambandho. Now the knowledge of the word should lead to the presentation of the object through the knowledge of this vritti relation. And the knowledge of this object, which is produced by the knowledge of the word through the knowledge of the vritti relation, is of the nature of recollection. It is not any and every kind of knowledge, it is a recollective knowledge or a sriti jnanam. That is, padarthodhi here means a sriti jnanam. Now the next question will be that what are these vritti relations? We shall see in the next lecture that the Naiyayikos admit two kinds of vrittis, two kinds of vritti relations, namely Shakti and Lakshana. I stop here and I shall continue the subject in the second lecture. I am stopping here because I must not make the video too long, because whenever a video is made too long, we have problems in uploading the video. So I end my first lecture here. This is where I ended the first Bengali recapitulation lecture.